It's time to get imaginAviation 2024 started. Today's Leadership Fireside Chat features NASA's Associate Administrator Jim Free and the Deputy Associate Administrator for Aeronautics, Ms. Carol Carroll.
Well, hello and welcome. I have to say I'm a little worried about Orville. I didn't know that was how we were going to start, and so hopefully Orville will be found soon. So I'd like to welcome everyone to imaginAviation 2024 Day 1. We're excited that you're all joining us. We're expecting over 5,000 participants from around the world, 71 countries. We have folks from universities, industry, NASA, other government agencies, and we're open to the general public. So we're excited you're with us. There are 83 watch parties around the world, and I'm very excited to have our new Associate Administrator, Jim Free, joining us this morning for the kickoff. Jim, this year, our theme is innovation and thought leadership. Would you care to share what comes to mind for NASA when you think about innovation and thought leadership?
Yeah, thanks, Carol, and thanks so much for having me. What a great event, imaginAviation. You know, I go back to when I was a young kid watching aircraft land out the front window of our apartment. I would do that for hours. So it's a wonderful theme that you have here, and I'm so proud of what you and Bob do in our Aeronautics Research Mission Directorate. You know, our overall NASA mission is that explore the unknown of air and space and innovate for the benefit of humanity and really inspire through discovery. And that's our core at NASA. That's what we sign up to do. And then aeronautics, it's advancing the aviation for public good, really in three specific ways. Of course, NASA has a set of core values. First and foremost in those core values is safety, and obviously that is the top priority in aviation. We also have a push on innovation. We do things and go places that no one else does, and certainly the Aeronautics Research Mission Director is top of that. And it's all aligned with improving people's lives. And I know we're going to talk about all three of those thrusts here today in our conversation. But Carol, let me start with a question for you around aviation safety. Tell us what that means in the work that you all lay out in aeronautics.
Absolutely, Jim. Safety is really integral to everything we do in aeronautics, as you can imagine, right? So I could give you lots of examples, but let me just start with one that maybe we can all relate to, and that's the airspace, the space that we fly through. So imagine a future with aircraft, with so many more aircraft than what we currently have flying, and all kinds of aircraft, right? We have large commercial airliners taking you from place to place, but also a whole slew of new aircraft. Think about piloted and unpiloted, electrified aircraft. Think about vehicles flying from point to point carrying people or delivering cargo or providing emergency response or inspecting pipelines, assisting in wildfire detection and suppression, or delivering medical supplies. So imagine all of these vehicles needing to get from place to place. And we have a transition in our technology where we're going to digital and data-driven systems. So what is it? How can we make sure that this airspace is safe for everybody? So what we at NASA are doing is we're working with the FAA and industry to develop and demonstrate new research tools, innovative technologies, and operational methods to manage this complex airspace and proactively mitigate potential risks. Now, in the aeronautics program, we've already developed some new airspace safety capabilities that are designed to prevent safety risks using machine learning, predictive modeling tools, human performance studies that we have completed and are ongoing, and data analysis tools, as well as we've developed state-of-the-art software verification and validation tools. All of this safety research is critical in order to enable all of the innovative aircraft that are being designed and developed across the world in order to be integrated safely into our airspace. And so we have to have safety at the core of everything we do in order to transit flight. So maybe we could talk a little bit, Jim, about innovation. You were just out at Palmdale for the unveiling of the X-59. What did you think?
Yeah, what an incredible aircraft that is. It was so surreal to be there, and think about the supersonic aircraft of the past while we're looking at the future. I think we all recall the Concorde. I actually just saw, I think, the only picture ever captured of the Concorde flying at Mach 2. I think it was a RAF Tornado that took the picture, and it's amazing to think that that aircraft was so transformational in what it did, and there I was standing in front of the next transformation we're going to go through to try and get back to flying supersonic over land that's been banned since 1973, and turn those loud booms, which actually I just heard at the Kennedy Space Center a couple weeks ago with the first stage coming back, reminding me how loud the booms are. Turn those booms into thumps. And I think X-59 design itself, is thought leadership. I think our participation in challenging the community to how do we approach this, the community that you mentioned, the industry, the academia, the public, even involving the public on the front end and the studies to see where's that threshold where those sonic booms bother you, to things we heard just prior to the X-59 unveiling when we were over at Armstrong Flight Research Center, hearing about the techniques how they're gonna fly behind the X-59 to really measure where that sonic boom is and in flight, and then even thought leadership around the shape of the aircraft, where we have to use a video instead of the typical windscreen out the front, totally changing the way pilots uh, pilot these aircraft. And I can't wait for those next steps later this year as that program gets to flight. And I can't even imagine the years we have ahead of us flying that around the country, again involving the public in their reaction. And that of course, as you know, it's not the only X-plane that's out there too. It's the X-66A that we had the chance to see the aircraft that are going to be used for that program as well, with again bold goals, audacious goals that NASA sets in partnership of a 50% reduction in greenhouse gases by 2050. That is definitely bold. And then a 30% fuel efficiency improvement for single aisle aircraft. And single aisle aircraft, as you know, take up a vast majority of the aircraft flown around the world today. So those kind of things are incredibly exciting to me. But tell us a little bit more, Carol, about the 2050 goal and the X-66A.
Absolutely. So we're really excited to be helping the nation and the world really contribute to meeting these really important goals to protect our planet and to make sure that aviation is sustainable. So we're working to meet these fuel efficiency and milestones, as well as lowering greenhouse gas emissions by advancing a variety of technologies, and everything from electrified aircraft propulsion technologies to high rate composite manufacturing. Because you can imagine these new aircraft of the future, we want them to be lighter weight. And so that means composites. And in order to actually make aircraft from composites, we need to increase the rate at which we can make the composites. So we have work going in all of those areas, working with industry. And so right now we're working with industry to take those advances on the ground. And then there's some technologies, once we've developed them and they're more mature, then we can take them to flight. And that's what the X-66 is, built on decades of research, looking at ways to make a more fuel efficient a single aisle aircraft. So the X-66 the X stands for experimental, and it's a partnership with Boeing. And we're going to be developing it with Boeing to demonstrate a whole host of new fuel efficient designs in flight. When you see a picture of the X-66, you'll see a very distinctive brace on the wing. And that's needed because the wing is so long and skinny, you need to provide some extra support for it. But that long, skinny wing reduces drag and helps to optimize fuel efficiency. So that's what we're going to take to flight. In addition, there's a whole host of other technologies on the X-66, more powerful and more fuel efficient engines to lower emissions. And so we're really excited to be able to demonstrate these technologies together in the X-66 in flight. And then I want to also talk about, those are more mature technologies, right? And I want to also talk about kind of the innovation engine, if you will, that is within the Aeronautics Research Mission Directorate. And there's two projects that are set up specifically to kind of question what is possible, and to allow our folks, our researchers, to really ask questions that hadn't been asked yet. And those two projects, the first is called Convergent Aeronautics Solutions, or CAS. And this project is really about investigating improbable ideas that might lead to solutions in the far future to improve safety, efficiency, and environmental and community impacts. The second project is called Transformational Tools and Technologies, or T-Cubed. We have to have acronyms here at NASA. T-Cubed is about developing technology before we necessarily know what technology we need. It's about exploring and trying, analyzing and developing and testing. We test developmental and experimental tools and technologies so that we can actually design and analyze future aircraft and spacecraft. These tools actually help the space side of the house as well. In addition, there's some materials technologies that we develop in these programs, and one of them is the revolutionary material GRX 810, and it's a 3D printable high temperature alloy. And go research that one if you're online and interested. That's a really exciting new material. So these fundamental aviation innovations will improve our lives. They'll reduce travel time, create greener aviation, and also provide public benefit, like providing emergency response for wildfires, monitoring, and mitigation. So, Jim, maybe you could talk a little bit about what we're doing with academia.
Yeah, thanks, Carol. And I want to highlight a couple of things you said. The tools and techniques that aeronautics develops are really the foundation on which we build, obviously in aeronautics, but also in space. And I'm really grateful for how aeronautics does that for our entire agency and our entire audacious goals to go do great things. And partnerships are how we do that. You highlighted that as well with what we're doing on X-59 and X-66 as an example. And those partnerships go out into academia and getting that next workforce that we need to do these goals out into this century and beyond. And I know there's a lot of exciting things in imaginAviation that we'll hear about tomorrow. My deputy, Casey Swales, is kicking off STEM Day, which what an incredible day that is. And she'll be talking to two student leaders about choosing your own STEM adventure. What an incredible title. And it's also changing the world along the way, kind of a secondary effect there. But I mean, I don't know how it gets better than that. And we're very proud at NASA of the internship programs that we have. 2,200 interns a year. We have it every spring, summer, and fall. We have the interns come through, and it's very energizing to be around the agency at that time and see the ideas and the energy that's there. And for me, a great example of that is what you all through the university initiative started, actually spurred an aerospace engineering program to start at the University of Reno. And those are the kind of things that are so exciting about what we can and do with academia. And as an agency, we're certainly always open to those new ideas.
Yeah, and in fact, we rely on them, right? I mean, we rely on our partnerships with universities to not only to engage students and professors, but to get the ideas that are being developed by these brilliant students all over the United States. And we need those ideas because we have big challenges that we're trying to solve. We, as Jim said, we have audacious goals, and so we need brand new ways of thinking. And an important attribute of making radical advancements in any field is thought leadership. Jim, what's your advice on how to be a thought leader either at work or at school or just in your general life?
Yeah, Carol, I think we've talked about a few of them here kind of implicitly. I think the first thing you have to do is set big goals. It's in the DNA of NASA, even going back to before the formation of NASA and where NACA was really driving the aeronautics research and aviation safety around the world. And when you set those goals, and we had it in the space side as well, we're doing it in aeronautics. You shared some of those here today about X-59 and X-66. Is that we're doing it now on going back to the moon and onto Mars. Once you set those goals, really challenge the team to solve it. Challenge it through unique and innovative ways. Some of the programs you talked about here are some of the ways that we do that. It's really more about the what and not how you're going to get it done. What is it that you need done? I think thought leadership, there's a lot on the leader as well. We have to make sure we listen and be open to ideas. As leaders, we can cut off conversations by saying, this is what I think we need to do. And part of leadership is taking a step back and listen and creating that environment for people to bring out ideas. You can create it through programs, some of which you talked here. You can create it through even just your demeanor as a leader to bring out those things.
If I could add, Jim, another aspect I think about with thought leadership is being willing to fail, being willing to try new ideas and put them to the test, whatever that test might be, right? It could be a physical test in a lab, it could be a software test, but the willingness to try new things will get us to solutions where we try to solve these really challenging problems. And the other thing I was thinking as you were talking is that we need to bring in people with different backgrounds and different approaches to the problem. And so, for example, if you have an engineering problem, you might not just want to have a room of engineers, right? You might want to have some business folks and some communications folks and some marketing folks, because you never know not only where the best ideas will come from, but how you can build on those ideas together. And so bringing together that diverse group of people with different approaches to solving the problem, in my mind, is what creates real change that would never be achieved if you just had a room of people that you thought were the experts in that field, if you will. So I think that the ability to bring together a diverse group of people is really important to move a field forward and make the radical advances that we here at NASA need to make.
I think that's an excellent point, Carol. What's the old diagram like? If you had a structures person design an aircraft, what would it look like? If you had a propulsion person, that's just specialty, right? But background, I think you're right. Background is who we are as human beings.
Yeah.
Background in our expertise. We all sit around that table to solve a problem with a unique aspect. And as technical people, I'll only lump myself in. I won't say this about you. I can very much, really get to a great idea as a technical person that's not achievable at all. And I think the other thing too that diverse group does is the ask questions. Right? It never fails to ask a question that everyone else in the room is thinking, but you have the courage to say that. That's courage is part of leadership as well. And I think events exactly like this are ways that people broaden their horizons, right? Get that big picture. Take a second, pull up on the stick, to use that analogy at an aviation event, pull up on the stick and see what other people are thinking. Broaden yourself. That's part of thought leadership. Leadership in general is you growing as a leader is incredibly important. So credit to all those 80 plus watch parties you talked about, and everybody that's logged in today and will be over the next few days to invest that time in yourself. And I read ahead in the agenda and saw Bob Pierce is talking about passion, ambition, and leadership. And I hope I can watch the recording of that. I won't be able to watch it live. I hope I watch the recording of that to also see the reaction. When you think of leadership, in a lot of ways, it's that hard charging person that takes over. I talked about an attribute of not being that way, and Bob talking about passion Passion's got to drive you in what you do in life, and ambition. And how do you balance those two to be the right leader? So I looked ahead at the agenda, Carol. I know you know this agenda inside and out. Share with me what sessions are you looking forward to, and maybe some highlights of why you're looking forward to them.
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to the next 3 days. And this afternoon, I'm particularly excited because we have two amazing thought leaders this afternoon. We have our very own Parimal Kopardecker, or we call him PK, joined by Gwen Leiter. And they're going to be talking at a fireside chat later this afternoon on when to follow your path and when to go off-roading. And maybe because I was just skiing last week, but particularly I tried to stay on path, by the way. But I think that's a very provocative title. And these are two leaders, worldwide leaders in the field of aviation. And one of the things that's important for a thought leader is the ability to communicate, the ability to influence, right? You can have a good, big idea. You can be an expert in the field. You can build a good team to kind of vet and test that idea. But you really need to be able to communicate. You need to influence. You need to convince people that it's worth having a go, right? That it's worth trying something different, trying something other than what you were planning to do. So PK and Gwen will have a great fireside chat this afternoon, and we'll figure out whether we're going to follow your path or go off-roading. And I'm also really excited, as you said at the top, about tomorrow, which is all STEM all day. And there's a lot of great sessions tomorrow, but I'm particularly looking forward to the keynote speaker, Allie Ward of the Ologies podcast. It happens to be a podcast I listen to. And so when I saw that she was one of the keynote speaker tomorrow, I was really excited. And so again, what I think is a beauty about imaginAviation, incredible organization that has brought together these diverse opinions, thought leaders, perspectives to really hopefully challenge everyone that's participating over the next 3 days to think about things in a new and different way. I think it's going to be a really fun and inspirational session. So I think we're about wrapped up here and ready to go. I'm a little worried about Orville. I hope that they find him, and he's out at Dulles. I hope they find him, although maybe the weather's okay in DC right now, so he won't, get too cold. He only has his scarf and his goggles.
Yeah, hopefully he can find some thought leadership to get himself home. It'd be good to have him back.
I hope so. We look forward. We Orville travels with us, when we go to air shows, when we're out at Oshkosh in the summer or other places, we try to have Orville, the flying squirrel, with us. And it's a great mascot, a great way to engage children, especially, but adults too. You never know. And so we appreciate having Orville as our mascot in aviation.